Hey, I'm Blair Best. It's Wednesday here on The Story, and it's good to be back with you. Tonight, the State Department of Unemployment is bracing for an uptick in claims as thousands of workers across the state, from Intel to ODOT, are being laid off. Plus, new data from Portland Police shows that crime has decreased around 2 new homeless shelters, discrediting the argument from neighbors that there would be more crime. But first, today, I hit the streets of Old Town to see how people there are dealing with this heat. With cooling centers still closed, I met a homeless woman who's pregnant as she struggles through her addiction and the heat to get the care she needs. It's our big story tonight. On this corner of Old Town.
Tough some days like tough.
Stephanie Gomez counts the days.
9 months.
She's homeless and pregnant with her 5th child, this one unplanned.
I'm getting later and I'm slowing down and I have to keep us safe, and that's just the biggest part, is just like keeping us safe and out of harm's way.
Stephanie is also addicted to fentanyl. Those close to her say she uses the drug every 15 minutes.
I'm not really worried about it. It seems like a lot of people that have delivered with fentanyl seem to be okay. Their kids seem to be okay.
Research shows fentanyl can have devastating impacts on babies exposed to the drug during pregnancy. For Stephanie, it's been 1 year living on these streets, she says.
I was actually married and had kids, and I've been a stay-at-home mom, and so I've always had a place to live.
In Portland?
In Portland.
Oh, okay.
I was like a normal society member. I went to school, I graduated, I took care of kids, I've done and anybody can end up here, I guess.
It was after a divorce she became homeless, and proud to have made it this far, she tells me.
I feel almost accomplished, I guess. I feel close to a point of where I want to be, and that's giving a healthy delivery. There's been quite a few pregnancies out here, but everyone else is taking it pretty well. There's been a lot of people having babies and going to rehabs and things like that. So
Do you think this will be kind of the turning moment for you?
Possibly.
On Wednesday, amid the extreme heat, volunteer outreach workers tried taking Stephanie to Project Nurture, a group helping pregnant women like her struggling with addiction.
I feel okay about it. I feel a little overwhelmed, but I feel excited, I guess, to see what's next.
5 minutes later and a block away, Stephanie changes her mind.
I feel just overwhelmed right now. I don't necessarily want to go and deal or just, I don't know.
Shortly after that, she changes her mind again.
Laying out my options and what there is to do now. I feel like I'll be okay. The baby will be okay. We'll be okay.
Okay, so what you just saw, that struggle to commit to getting help, is very common for those on the streets, especially those addicted to fentanyl. Now, Stephanie did get in the car there and was taken to Project Nurture. On the drive to the clinic, the outreach workers told me she wanted to be dropped off at Delta Park so she could return cans for money. They eventually made it to the clinic. They sat with Stephanie in the car outside the clinic by Dawson Park in North Portland for about 2 hours until she was ready to go inside. I'm told she ended up smoking meth with some people in Dawson Park before getting motivated enough to go into the clinic. She finally made it inside, where she was seen by doctors, but she will likely sleep on the streets tonight, I'm told, because many of the maternity shelters require her to stop using drugs. City outreach teams are aware of Stephanie. They say they've offered her services and that their door is open whenever she is ready to accept the help. I'll also add, she's been to the county's deflection center. That's the option for treatment over jail when caught with possession of hard drugs, but clearly no lasting, meaningful services came from that. Now, it is the second day of extreme heat, and Multnomah County did not open any formal cooling spaces today, and here's why. The county spokesperson says even as temperatures are likely to exceed 95 degrees today, with a chance they could reach 99 in some places, because temps will drop overnight, and there will only be a few hours of the highest heat, Multnomah County and City of Portland officials agreed it did not meet their thresholds. Now, those thresholds are based on the National Weather Service models. On the first 90-degree day of the summer, county officials hold a conference call. When the county is at a high risk of heat, officials hold another conference call and may consider opening shelters. Only when heat is forecasted to be an extreme risk with little to no overnight relief does the county activate cooling shelters. In Clackamas County, there is one overnight cooling shelter open tonight. That's Father's Heart Street Ministry in Oregon City. In Washington County, there are no formal cooling shelters opening tonight. For a full list of where to go to cool off, head to our website, kgw.com. Okay, we want to bring in Chief Meteorologist Matt Zaffino now. Matt, give us the latest on this heat and how long it will last.
Well, the cooling will commence and really kick in tonight and then accelerate as we go through the next several days and into the weekend. We topped out at 97 today. By the way, our morning low in downtown Portland was 65 today, so not the worst we've ever seen, but certainly warm for Portland. 100 in Medford today, 87 in Pendleton. Notice the cooler air over on the east side of the state. You're going to warm up tomorrow. So yes, it's a hot evening. We're still in the mid-90s right now, but tomorrow won't be as hot. Still near 90, but not as hot as today's 97. And then it becomes much cooler as we go into the weekend. As I said, we're at 96 right now, just one shy of our maximum temperature for the day. It is a very low humidity, a dry heat, and that's one reason why the overnight temperatures will be able to drop even lower tonight than they did last night. But we'll keep the weather impact alert going for a couple more hours till about 10 o'clock. That's when we drop out of the 80s into the 70s, and by 3 a.m. we're down to 66, and we should bottom out down around 60 tomorrow morning, so cooler than it was last night. If you like cooling, the coast always an option, only 62 at Lincoln City right now. The Cascades look beautiful as we look north from our camera at Timberline Lodge. When we look south at Mount Jefferson, you can see there's haze in the sky from the wildfires that are burning here. That's the Cram Fire right there, burning in Central Oregon, and there are fire weather warnings out beginning tomorrow afternoon, continuing into Friday for that part of the state. So tomorrow, 60 in the morning, Blair, you can see that, will be 66 in late morning, top out at about 89. Back to you.
Okay, Matt, thanks so much. Well, the pushback against two new homeless shelters in Northwest Portland continues tonight as we inch closer to their potential opening dates. The first would be a large 200-bed overnight city-run shelter at the corner of 14th and Northrop. That's next to I-405, right at the dividing line between the Pearl District and the Northwest neighborhood. Opening is set for September. The other would be just 2 blocks away, where the nonprofit Blanchet House is planning to open a 75-bed women's shelter in October. Now, for several weeks, we've talked about how the local neighborhood association, businesses, and residents are fighting the plans. Many argue that more shelters around downtown will blunt any revitalization efforts by bringing more crime and drug use to the surrounding area. But today, a report from Portland Police discredits the argument that overnight shelters lead to more crime. PPB compared crime between 2 6-month periods in 2 parts of town where overnight shelters recently opened. One downtown along Southwest 2nd Avenue near the Burnside Bridge, the other in North Portland along Williams Avenue. The first 6-month chunk of time was between the middle of July last year in the beginning of this year, before the shelters opened. They compared those numbers to the next 6 months following the shelter openings from January through June. Now, police looked at reported crimes that happened within 1,000 feet of those shelters, which is basically a few blocks in each direction. Their analysis found that there were overall decreases in reported crimes after the shelters opened. We'll start downtown at the 52-bed women's shelter along Southwest 2nd. The left here shows the crime reports for the last half of 2024 compared to the right side of the screen in the first 6 months of this year. Tough really to tell much of a difference. But the data shows total crime in that area was down 2.5% after the shelter opened. Person crimes, including assault, were down to 113 from 137. Property crimes dipped ever so slightly, but society crimes like drug and weapon violations were up. A PPB partially blames that increase on the recriminalization of drugs. Here's a look at the heat map for reported crimes around the North Portland shelter, which is a 100-bed overnight shelter for men and women. Again, a little tough to notice huge differences looking at this map, but here's what the numbers show. Total crime was down 12.5%. Person crimes were down slightly, property crimes down just a bit, although car thefts spiked, and society crimes were halved from 2 down to 1. And for context, here's how crime across the city of Portland compared over those 2 6-month periods. Overall, down nearly 9%. Person crimes, barely much change. Property crimes were way down the first 6 months of this year, but society crimes, again, drug and weapon violations, were up. But when it comes to what the data shows in those neighborhoods surrounding the overnight shelters, overall crime reports trending down. Mayor Keith Wilson says it's positive momentum that's just getting started, and his Shelter First plan is just the tip of the iceberg.
When you have a shelter, you're going to see an increase in street sweeping, graffiti abatement. We're going to focus on addressing drug use and drug dealing. Those are all the things that we're going to see, you're going to see mitigated and reduced dramatically. We've been opening up resources. We don't want to come with the enforcement too soon, because what you're doing is when you start displacing people, all you're doing is moving them around. We have to have the life-saving care and the shelters available first. So when an officer or an outreach worker shows up and says, I want to help you, what does it look like? But you can't stay here. We have to have a better place than here. We have to have an opportunity to move them to a better place, or else all you're doing is moving people around, and we've been doing that for a half a dozen years. Aren't we just done with just moving people around Portland instead of providing care for those in need?
Okay, but that plan and this new data regarding crime near overnight shelters is not enough for those facing a shelter in their neighborhood, especially considering the size and makeup of the 2 upcoming sites are quite a bit different from the shelters included in the study.
What the model is to congregate the problem, have no solution to the problem, and then everybody in the daytime can, go fan out into the neighborhood. It's just not a model that makes any sense. I don't care what the numbers say. I don't care what a spreadsheet says.
No matter how the City Hall wants to jigger the numbers, I mean, rocks are hard and water's wet, and people can see with their own eyes and the results of what's happening.
Okay, so what is going through your mind? What do you think about the Police Bureau's study? Are you buying those numbers? Let us know. Email the story at kgw.com or call and leave us a voicemail, 503-226-5090. Well, last week we heard Intel is laying off more than 500 people at 4 campuses in Hillsborough and Aloha. That news alone set off some alarm bells after Intel laid off about 3,000 people in Oregon last year. But then, late last week, a bomb dropped. Intel isn't just laying off 500 people. They're actually laying off nearly 2,400 people in Oregon starting this week. So we've got big layoffs at Oregon's largest private employer. Meanwhile, we're expecting hundreds of layoffs at Oregon's Department of Transportation after the legislature failed to pass a funding bill for the agency. Many of those workers are now joining the thousands of other people filing unemployment claims. And if you remember, the Oregon Employment Department has been struggling in recent years to even answer the phone, much less process people's claims and pay them in a timely manner. The department has a new director. Andrew Stolfi took over for David Gerstenfeld, who had been in charge of the Employment Department since 2020. Stolfi says that on his first day, Governor Kotek tasked him with improving the agency's response times and customer service within 4 months. He told us today he's working on a, quote, a very detailed plan.
The agency has owned the challenges that we've experienced. And I can assure you, and I showed up 3 weeks ago, there've been lots of thinking about this and a lot of planning. What I'm doing is digging into that to see what's done and maybe what hasn't been done and what barriers existed to accomplishing that, whether they're people barriers, resources, et cetera. And then being creative and looking elsewhere. For one example, I've already had a call with another state, New Jersey, who's been really successful at leveraging AI and some other similar tools into their systems that's cut down their call wait times. And importantly, also provided a lot more self-help resources to claimants and others so that they can provide answers to some common questions and problems that they're encountering.
Stolfi says he's also authorizing overtime pay for their workers and putting more resources into their live chat function for people who need help. We also learned today Oregon's unemployment rate overall is going up. The state lost 4,300 jobs last month, more than twice as many as in May. Manufacturing lost the most jobs, but healthcare added jobs. Over the past year, the agency says the state has added only 8,700 jobs, which is slow by historical standards. Right now, Oregon's unemployment rate is 4.9%.
That was higher than the US rate of 4.1%. Oregon's unemployment rate has ticked up by just 1/10 of a percentage point, but it's done so every month so far in 2025. So while that's little change from month to month, the broader effect is that we've seen Oregon's unemployment rate rise from 4.3% at the end of last year to 4.9% as of June.
All right, comparing to pre-pandemic, the agency says the last time our unemployment rate was this high, the summer of 2016. Well, turning now to an update on a manhunt here in the Northwest that's been going on for a month and a half. Travis Decker, the man accused of killing his 3 young daughters in Washington, remains on the loose tonight. New police dashcam video shows Decker a few days before the murders in a town just a few hours east of Seattle. Chris Ingalls, with our affiliate there, brings us the story.
1941.
It's the most routine of calls. A fender bender on the street just outside a Safeway store in Chelan County.
35, 1941.
Responding Wenatchee police officer Timothy Jeffress walks up to 2 men.
River going clear.
In days, one of them will become the most wanted fugitive in the country.
And Rivercon clears out.
That's Travis Decker in the white T-shirt, just after his truck rammed this Ford Mustang at a stoplight. The police report says Decker was cited for no insurance and following too closely.
Last of Decker, first of Travis.
The officer's dash cam recorded this encounter 3 days before Decker picked up his daughters, Peyton, Evelyn, and Olivia, from his ex-wife's home, and police say killed them at a campsite outside Leavenworth. In the manhunt that followed, investigators released photos and this Ring doorbell video of the 39-year-old Decker. But this video, at 19 minutes 41 seconds long, is more revealing. The man whose car Decker hit declined an on-camera interview, but he described Decker as nervous and fidgety. He kept telling me please not to call police. The man said he was sympathetic, but had to report the crash, and Decker looked almost intimidating to me, although it was more a vibe than anything Decker said. In the video, we see Decker with his arms crossed looking almost bored. Then he walks over and leans against his truck. Later, he sits on the bumper and then rests his head on the truck bed like he's exhausted. But it was the conversation with the crash victim that was the most unusual. I could tell he was not in his full senses, the man said, describing Decker's odd questions and answers and his body language. Decker complained, "I'm going to jail," and the man couldn't seem to convince him that he wouldn't be jailed over a minor traffic accident. In the days after the girl's disappearance in early June, we reported on court records revealing Decker's mental health issues, that he was homeless and living out of his truck. This was one of 2 car crashes that may have been more evidence that the former Army Ranger was spiraling out of control. King 5 obtained this brief police report from his first car accident on May 4th, in which the caller was rear-ended by a truck continued on. With a license plate number, police determined the hit-and-run driver was Travis Decker. The victim in that accident declined an on-camera interview, but said he did not pursue charges because his white Honda CR-V was not damaged. He said he did not know Decker was the runaway driver until we called. 3 weeks after that hit and run, the dashcam video of the next crash ends with Decker extending his hand in what would become an uncomfortable 9-second-long handshake, with Decker asking the man if he'll be okay and holding a firm grip.
Well, still ahead on the story, we're talking towing fees in Portland. Drivers are not being charged consistent rates, and one company is charging way more. We'll explain when the story returns. A new report from Portland's watchdog agency shows some drivers are being charged nearly 5 times more for a tow than others. The city partners with several tow companies to create competition, but there's a loophole. Devin Haskins has a look.
Tony Green is the City of Portland's Deputy Ombudsman. His office opened an independent investigation earlier this year into why some drivers needing a tow were being charged more than others.
The city responds to collisions and breakdowns, specifically the Portland Police, something like 7,000 times a year.
According to the city's towing contract, hazard tows have a set price, private tows do not. Portland Police, citing bureau policy, often call for a private tow at the owner's request. Green says while most companies voluntarily lowered their tow rates for private tows,
one company is charging 5 times as much, and so some community members are getting significantly higher bills than everybody else.
He says that company, Elite Towing, is not doing anything wrong and is well within their rights to charge more for a private tow. He says the contract needs to change.
You could call it a loophole, whatever you want, but I think the city should regulate these particular types of tows to protect community members from really high charges.
The report says police often don't call for a hazard tow because it involves more paperwork for the driver and could result in a citation. Police responded to the report and says their ultimate goal is to make it easier on the driver, and in a statement said in part, officers are compassionate for people who have been through a traumatic event such as a car crash, and they're trying to be helpful and minimize any further harm. PPB also said it was too early to say if any policies or procedures would change because of the reports.
PBOT says drivers should call the different tow companies to find the best rate. But we reached out to Elite Towing and never heard back. Stay with us. We're back right after this.
Oh, I was playing on the sunny side of the street. You know, I even play on rainy days. It's about, you know, just being happy. Yeah, so I don't have AC, so it's actually a little cooler out here than in my house.
It's really nice right now. It's not too hot like yesterday. But right now, I like the breeze. Toddlers can't, babies can't really do heat. And I'm trying to avoid him to have a heat rash.
Sometimes, or if it gets too hot, we have to take breaks, or we have to, call it a day if it gets over 105. But typically, you just, drink water, stay hydrated, make sure you got a healthy meal, and just keep on keeping on.
Trying to go to the Clackamas River tomorrow to do some fishing so that I can at least stay cool for a big chunk of the day.
I'm not much for the sun. Like, I like the rain and the cooler weather. So I'm either trying to find a book and a cool place to read outside or just stay under my AC.
I'm going to stay close to my air conditioner. I'm going to stay inside for a day or two, I think. Do what you can. Do what you can't do.
Well, that is the end of our show, folks. Thanks so much for watching. And don't forget, everyone has a story to tell. Have a great Wednesday night. Stay cool out there. I'll see you right back here tomorrow night at 6:30.